Good evening, League of Legends fans, and welcome to another exciting week of the Upsurge Premier League. We have an exciting clash between 100 Thieves Next and Vital Point Esports, and bringing you this high octane action is going to be myself, Marco Rafa Alexander Aramide, and my wonderful co-caster, Mr. Dean Rebel Fox Merrick. And oh man, there's a lot of things to talk about this matchup.
That there are. Let's just start off with the fact that, of course, 100 Thieves leads their group right now. That is, I believe, Ocean Group with a 6-0 record. Whereas this Vital Point squad, they're coming in at a 1-2. They had lost two series against both 100 Thieves already in this split, as well as against one of the other two teams. And so they're looking to bounce back to try to make it into that playoffs on the second half of the split.
Yeah, it's going to be a kind of a tough climb for Vital Point Esports as they are sitting currently third in the standings. But for 100 Thieves next, they are on good pace to pretty much have a perfect season. But Vital Point Esports, there's a couple players that we have to look out for, especially around the mid lane here.
Yeah, Nemesis King certainly carved a name for himself, sitting in Challenger, highest MMR on his team. Very, very impressive player, very good carry going up against Copy. Copy, no slouch himself, but certainly a matchup. Probably the best one that they've got on the side of Vital Point. So if they're going to look to win, it's probably going to have to be through Nemesis King.
And it's going to also be up to his jungler and good sir. And he's got a mountain in himself individually going up against KenV1, who, if you've been following the amateur scene, then you got to know that KenV1 is just an absolute terror from the jungle. He's one of the few players who has not resulted to the tank meta that is starting to form quite yet. Is an aficionado with that Lee Sin. And oh, baby, if he gets his hands on it, you're in a world of trouble.
That we are. In fact, this whole 100 Thieves roster from top to bottom is just terrifying. Tenacity in the top lane, really good. Otto, of course, played in the Challenger Series for the LCS for multiple years. So, and then Poom, of course, joining him in that bottom lane. This is just a stacked roster across the board. It's tough to ever predict against this team because they are just so good at what they do. But the important thing right now, I did highlight this before we started in the cast, is that Vital Point, if they're looking to get into playoffs, the best way they can do that is with even a single game win over 100 Thieves here, because it would put them at a higher game score than their opposition if they were to beat Horizon for that number two slot.
And always the story about whenever you see a team that is so dominant like 100 Thieves next is you never know how complacent they could be. They might be imagining to themselves that, Man, we are so good at what we do that we don't really need to pay attention." And then that could come down to whether it is the fault of the players individually themselves or the coaching staff. But when you have a veteran like Otto who has performed so well in the Academy series, especially for CLG Academy from the previous years, then I would imagine that his level headedness would be able to keep the team in check.
Yeah, and actually, we saw that on display last week. I'm pretty sure 100 Thieves went up against Horizon, and in that game too, they were really, really close to just getting the game broken up open on them by Horizon, but they were able to bring it back due to some of that leadership that you just made mention of. Not to mention Ken V and Copy doing some pretty good work. I believe it was Ziggs last week that Copy had picked, which I'm excited to see again if
Mm.
it does come through. But yeah, they were very, very behind to start with, couple thousand gold early on in that game, and we're able to bring it back because, as you said, it's not easy to beat a team like this when they're performing so highly.
And we should be getting into draft soon. And speaking of draft, when we're talking about being able to set up Nemesis King for success, what are some champions that you are looking at, specifically Rebel Fox, that he wants to get his hands on?
The two I saw mostly were Vladimir and the Yasuo. I would expect far more the Vladimir than the Yasuo in that particular case. But obviously, if Yasuo can be set up with something like Gragas in the jungle, that's a formidable duo that's very hard to challenge through most of the game
Mhm.
in general. And of course, there's plenty of champions that can set that up. We've seen Ornn absolutely dominate in the top lane, and being on blue side means they have priority on that pick if it's not banned out. You have things like Malphite that could potentially sneak in, Scion could potentially sneak in due to some of the changes we saw to Sunfire this patch. So certainly, I mean, maybe the Yasuo setup might be there. It's certainly a champion that Nemesis King can pilot and one he could absolutely take over the game with.
And I do not see if Good Sir has put in much time into the Gragas, but I mean, I would imagine that champion has been around for so long, and with the state of the meta right now, Gragas is just one of those flexible picks that can fit either in an aggressive jungler meta or even a full-on tank meta if you wanted to go down the Cinder Hulk route. That should fit right into the pocket of wanting to set up Nemesis King for a Yasuo-centric comp.
That it would, and it would be really fun to see, obviously, something like that to for Nemesis King to come out in game one against the number one team in your group against 100 Thieves and say, "I'm gonna play Yasuo," would be a huge statement for him, and it's one I really would like to see him make.
I mean, sometimes you have to catch the dominant teams off guard. You cannot be scared to face them down. If you look at the world's runs by Vitality, they didn't care they were going up against RNG. They picked freaking Draven into the bot lane against Uzi, and because they supported it well enough with the help of their jungler Kikis, Attila was able to run amok in that show. Unfortunately, they didn't get out of the group stage, but we are getting into the draft phase finally, ladies and gentlemen, for 100 Thieves next and Vital Point Esports. Vital Point is on the blue side, and they have the first rotation of bans, and not sure what they going for. It looks like the Senna ban was the intended ban here for the champion, and now it's up to 100 Thieves.
Blame jungle. And the Yasuo actually banned out first pick as well, so 100 Thieves next, seeing the same thing that I am, making sure that Nemesis King can't get his hands on that champion in the mid lane. Certainly a solid decision from that team.
A lot of respect already coming out from 100 Thieves, and that they recognize that they don't want to take any chances giving the strongest player his most comfortable pick, but a lot of respect coming out against Ken V1 taking away the Olaf.
That it is, making sure he can't get his hands on that one. Also, MF is something that Auto plays quite a bit. Pufu plays it a little bit less, but certainly not something they're willing to give up in first rotation. Or it means maybe they don't want to prioritize it nearly as highly and would afraid that it would slip through to second rotation here for the side of 100 Thieves. Not willing to give that one over. Philios still up. There's still Ezreal up. Both of them are certainly high enough priority. Ornn taken off the board. Not a shocker.
Yeah, but it is surprising that it was not left up to the red side to ban Ornn out. Usually that is a very favorite first blind pick for blue side teams in the current competitive meta right now. So it means that they are looking at something else. Potentially the set could be something that Vital Point Esports wants to look for. Aphelios being taken off the table as well from 100 Thieves. So set could be something that Meslo wants to pick or take away from Tenacity. I'm not really sure what other champions they would want to prioritize here unless it's something for Nemesis King.
I could see maybe Talia or Thresh as priority picks here for the side of Vital Point. Thresh is something that's shared across both support pools very highly. It looks like they're going for the next best ADC. Yeah, the Ezreal is highly. So this actually points to me, maybe they want to play that Yuumi in the bottom lane out of fear of just being able to take that away from 100 Thieves so that they can't get that onto Poom here, because Poom has been playing a lot of Yuumi lately. So getting that Ezreal Yuumi combination in the bottom lane also puts them at a slight disadvantage.
Well, Pufu's going to go for the safe Ezreal pick, taking it away from Otto. Looks like 100 Thieves were poised around taking the Caitlyn, but they decided, hey, you know what? They didn't get set, so let's lock it in for Tenacity. And, if we want to talk crazy, we could see that flexed either towards the mid lane support. Hell, even Kevin 1, if he wants to take a little set and brawling in the jungle, he definitely could. But the Caitlyn will be locked in for Otto.
Yeah, certainly something that I would expect set to go more towards the top lane here for 100 Thieves. I don't really see it that much in the history of Copy or of Kenvi. Possible that would be the case, though. Caitlyn, plenty of range to work with. Can also work with a variety of champions if they don't want to do this Yuumi here. Rakan is the hover. Okay, Rakan, again, also across both support pools, so not shocking, although a little easier to get aggressive against, and I think that's not a great prospect here from the side of Vital Point. If they get Caitlyn, and then something like they could go Morgana, they could go Thresh, they could go Leona, and nothing's been banned out here. So it's a little shocking they would go such a defensive lane with no real protection against that hard engage. Now for their second pick, I mean, don't know what's left on the board. I would say, like, I don't even know. That's the issues. I just can't see what they would be because they've given up so much for bot lane here. Yeah, that was
really
seemed to come out of nowhere, right?
This is such a curious draft from Vital Point Esports. I mean, yes, we can say that we're safely assuming that the Tenacity will be receiving the set in the top lane, but we've seen across other leagues that set can be flexed to other roles. So whereas Fiora doesn't really have that same luxury unless you go back to the days of Nautilus and Galio mid, and Fiora was picked as a mid counter pick in that situation. But I don't know if Nemesis King wants to take on that challenge. And like you predicted, Rebel Fox, Morgana is going to be the pair with Caitlyn. So now this is a very oppressive poke lane here. 400 Thieves and Otto and Poom, they're just going to be able to shove in Pufu and Gufang. And I'm not even sure if that's going to be a lane that Good Sir can now proactively rely on.
Yeah, I'm not sure is either. At best, it's a defensive lane for the Ezreal to get through because Rakan does do a pretty good job of denying at least some gank potential. But outside of that, I don't see much aggression coming out of them outside of maybe some ganks or some hard CC. The Fiora is most interesting to me because I have to assume Vital Point knows there's no real flexibility from the side of 100 Thieves unless they're really willing to like flex a champion that hasn't been practiced too much by either Kenvi or by Copy. So they're forcing a flex to a champ, somebody who's not ready for the champion, or they're saying we know the matchup for the Fiora is going to be the set. That's perfectly fine with us. So that means that Meslo here is very, very comfortable, and they're just banking on the fact that set's not going to get flexed. And maybe he feels super good in the Fiora matchup. Kale would have been something that you could have looked for, but if this is a pocket pick for him, it's absolutely workable.
Yeah, Jarvan and Rek'Sai also being taken away from Good Sir. Jarvan, definitely a jungler in competitive play, is very strong, and just being able to have reliable lockdown and engage with that Cataclysm. And now the only other jungler that could provide such a thing could still be the Gragas, or could be the Sejuani, which is, oh, that's so sad. Kenvi 1 is being relegated to Sejuani slave duty. Oh, what a sad time for carry junglers everywhere.
That it is. Pretty unfortunate. Also gives a counter pick over to Vital Points if they want to go Trundle. Oh, no. No,
Oh
even
my
worse.
god.
He's going to get relegated to Sejuani. He's going to get Trundle counter pick. That feels even worse.
You can just imagine Kevin 1 turning to his coach is like, you just trolled me, dude. Literally trolled me.
Yeah, Vital
And
Point
now,
trolled him.
yeah, the counter pick matchup coming in for Good Sir. And even though there is a decent elo difference between the two, these two junglers are not very mechanically challenging to perform well on. And so Trundle's just going to be able to turn Kenvi 1 into a crispy pork shard whenever they get into fights. And there it is, the Vladimir being the last pick here for Nemesis King. And now, although this Fiora is going to be set up more than likely in a 1-4 composition with the rest of the team, you have some decent engage prowess with the Rakan and the Vladimir, and an Ezreal who doesn't really need self-peel, as he'll be able to reliably get out of sticky situations.
Yeah, the Syndra pick looks like the last flex. It is going to be drawn in here. The two champions I was actually considering were either Syndra or Sylas for the mid lane. If they go Sylas, it's a lot more aggressive of a comp that they want to take into Vital Point, which doesn't always work in this 4-1 style, especially when you've got Ezreal, Rakan, Vladimir to just run away anytime you want. So their thought, I guess, is if you have the zone pressure with something like Syndra, Caitlyn, Morgana, no engagement comes out, so then all they have to do is control the side lane against the Fiora, and they can absolutely siege up on some of these towers with their 4-man.
Now, Rebel Fox, answer me this. Are you at all any concerned about this matchup that Copy has picked himself into, Syndra going into Vlad? Because I don't want to say it's a direct counter pick, because I could be wrong, but I would imagine that anytime Syndra wants to hit the R button onto Nemesis King, he just pulls, and then there goes your ultimate.
That's correct. And even worse, like against a squishier mage, as long as he's able to sidestep the E and doesn't get stunned by it or pushed back by it, his ultimate's enough to actually potentially have some kill pressure onto the Syndra. Now, the Syndra has enough range to work against the Vladimir, and you have plenty of poke damage to work with as well. So I wouldn't say it's a super hard counter into the Syndra. The Echo is something that's even harder in my mind because it does the same thing and has a lot more sticking power. But the Vladimir is certainly something that's going to be perfectly usable into the Syndra. So if it were me, the Syndra pick is more so to use to kind of control the laning state against the Vladimir, keep him stuck where he's at in the mid lane, and then roam around faster for the Sejuani to try to prevent Trundle from running amok on the map and, you know, just ruining Kenvi's time worse than he already has.
Looking at both of these compositions overall, we already discussed that Vital Point Esports, their main goal is they need to set up this Fiora for success against Tenacity in the 1v1, and if he's able to win this lane matchup, then there's not really one or two people, maybe three at the most, that 100 Thieves can send to stop Fiora. And by the time you're sending that many people, that is allowing Vital Points to be able to control any other section of the map. What is then 100 Thieves' realistic win condition with this composition?
So surprisingly, I'm actually more worried about the win condition from the side of Vital Point because they play a 4-1 composition with Fiora in the side lane. Fiora really has to take over the side lane because you've got Trundle for CC, and that's about it. You got Rakan for some dive as well, but there's too squishy a front line to actually work against all of this poke Caitlyn, Morgana, Syndra bring, and too much frontline from Sejuani for them to actually just burst through. So I'm really terrified for the pure 5-on-5 from Vital Point that they don't have the damage to knock through their front line or the CC to sustain like an elongated fight. So that means Fiora's pretty much all they're banking on in this one. So that set matchup's got to be absolutely pivotal for Meslo. For 100 Thieves, if they're able to shut down that side lane, get the set ahead, or just play the pure 5-on-5 team fight, they will win pretty much every single matchup so long as they don't just get run over in the early game.
We'll have to be looking at Good Sir on this Trundle to be able to set that up all for him. He has the counter pick against Kemvi, so he should be able to have the aggressive foot, the agency to be able to make that happen for his team. And as you said before, Nemesis King on this Vladimir, that was one of the 2 picks between that and the Yasuo that we needed for him to be able to lock in for Vital Points to have a clear chance at success, and he's got it. So now it's up to him to perform. Hemo Plagues are going to have to be on point to be able to annihilate this backline of Syndra and Caitlyn. And then even though Sejuani can get pretty tanky, I mean, you're no use as a tank if you got no backline to be able to absorb all that damage for. Eventually, over time, you will get bled out.
That's fair. And that's a really big win condition, is getting Nemesis King very fed early on from the side of Vital Point means that, I mean, a Black Shield does nothing against Vladimir for the most part. He pops it in pretty much any one ability, even late game. There's no worries there. So like Vladimir can get onto Caitlyn Syndra with a good flank. That's a terrible team fight. You got to keep them pretty much in front of you. So you're going for a very standard team fight style here from the side of 100 Thieves. So keeping Nemesis King under wraps is basically doing your proper warding vision, that kind of thing goes with that.
Very important first match here for Vital Point Esports. They have to start off on a strong foot if they want to be able to get a good understanding and read of how 100 Thieves Academy will play against them in this series. It is a best of 3, so they're going to be... They still have one more game. If things do not go quite as planned as their draft needs them to be for this opening game. But we will be taking a short break as we get ready for this first match of the series to begin. But before we do that, we're going to send a quick word from one of our amazing sponsors in Sector 6.
Started with a vision of quality, a vision of uniformity.
We took the time to create something familiar yet refreshing, something with a bit of change.
Designed to fit any brand's unique vision.
星に瞬きを伝えて守るものがある
We are live for the first game between 100 Thieves Next and Vital Point Esports. We're on the Rift. Doesn't seem like we're going to get any level 1 shenanigans. However, there was something that my co-caster Rebel Fox did spot on Otto's Keystone of Choice, and he's very excited to talk about it.
Yeah. Actually, you're the one that spotted it first. I'm just the one that gets to talk about it because apparently I'm the color caster. Halo Blades on Caitlyn has been spouting up very recently as a way to deal with lanes that Caitlyn doesn't particularly win early. So champions such as Varus, Lucian, and Ezreal have better consistent damage over time than a Caitlyn will. So Caitlyn wants to take much quicker trades to make sure she can actually stay relevant in the laning phase. Ooh, almost hits that Q. And so you take this into those matchups to make sure that consistent damage is just baffled by the amount of damage you can put out with a Halo Blades proc. Not to mention, when you're in a brush, if you get a Halo Blades proc, you can get 3 charges towards that crit, which double. So you get 6 charges towards your crit, basically get another crit if you start with one. Pretty OP strategy.
Mm-hmm. And I would imagine that if Otto is playing this lane tactfully, he can always walk into the bush as soon as he hits above that 2 mark into the bush. And then the Halo Blades, that last Otto should be the headshot crit. And my God, I mean, Pufu doesn't have that much sustain in this lane with the Rakan. It would have to rely on Gufang to be able to hit the Qs and battle dance back towards the safety of his AD carry. So this could definitely be a strong, oppressive lane. Even more so, we already know going into the draft that Caitlyn Morgana is already oppressive to work with when they're getting siege under tower, but especially with that Halo Blades on top of it, I mean, my God, that's going to suck.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah, Poom just getting super aggressive with this Q start early. Didn't go for the shield, knows that the level 1 is pretty much non-existent from the Ezreal and the Rakan. That's neat. Yeah, this is also going to be another matchup to watch. This Miss Meslo versus Tenacity matchup in the Fiora versus Set. I haven't considered the matchup very heavily. I would have to assume, like most matchups, Set wins early, Fiora wins late. That's pretty much the go-to gimmick with Set. Although early on trades could probably be abused very heavily by the Q, hitting one of those zones, giving true damage, healing the Fiora a little bit better. So might not be simple for Tenacity to just get those permatrades off. Not to mention the riposte can be used to W off the damage from that haymaker that Tenacity throws in. So there's a lot of that true damage can be completely discounted by the W from Fiora.
Yeah, not to mention you can also repulse the what is it, that face breaker. If he's able to time that well, that's going to be a large stun duration down onto Tenacity, and it gives Meslo time away to be able to walk and disengage the trade, because the key to being able to beat Set in lane is you cannot all-in this guy. You just build up the grid, and then boom, he hits you in the face with a haymaker full of true grit, true damage. But if you're able just to poke him down constantly with hitting those vital points with the Q, the lunge, I mean, there's possibility that Meslo is able to out-sustain Tenacity here.
Yeah, especially if he gets that Conqueror stacked a lot faster. A little easier to get some of those auto cancels off with the E, giving you basically 2 free auto attacks, the Q doing the same.
Ooh.
A bit of trading back and forth here. It's a zone proc.
Doesn't get the riposte there, but Meslo still being very confident about engaging further onto the trade, and he could have been worse off had he not dashed in further onto Tenacity, but you have to remember the health regen on set is pretty ridiculous early on.
Yeah. And Tenacity in this matchup not playing much different. Ooh, that knuckle down. It's quite a bit. Does repost the W damage, though, and again, that's the important part. That W damage hits Meslo's in a really rough place, but thankfully able to get that one off.
See, you can tell how anxious the camera observer is getting just by working back between both of these lanes. But Meslo, both of the flashes coming out the very last second. Tenacity not able to lock down first blood for 100 Thieves next, but flashes have been exchanged by both top laners, and Meslo is going to have to force the recall as well as Tenacity.
Yeah, and early on, these trades certainly going the way of Set. At least some of these extended trades as we continue in the laning phase. If Tenacity can land Pokey and go in on Meslo like that, that won't continue all game. So I expect Tenacity to try to take advantage of the fact that that works for him right now.
Ooh. Copy had just barely recalled, and even though Nemesis King wasn't in a position to normally roam, he could have assisted Good Sir into the collapse on the Ken V1, which is why he had to make like the win and get out of Good Sir's jungle. Meslo and Tenacity both having teleported back to lane. It looks like Meslo is going to double down onto the laning phase, equipping another Dorn's Blade in his pocket, whereas Tenacity picking up a Rejuve Bead and a Longsword, breaking his way towards that Tiamat purchase.
Yeah. One of the best ways that the Set can handle the Fiora, first is wave clear to make sure she can't do anything. Second is potentially just to push in that wave and roam, but bad place to be if you're Tenacity here.
Now, Good Sir still doesn't have, or he has a flash advantage over Tenacity, but he doesn't want to mess with him for too long. As we all know, all-inning on Set is not the smartest idea to do, but getting a little chomp damage down will always help the top laner in the 1v1, as Gufang still trying to be able to find trades onto Otto and Poom as they're aggressively pushing up. But in the CS department, Pufu is not too far behind.
No, doing pretty good for himself. Now, Trundle being spotted on the top side of the map, of course, it looked like Tenacity was trying to get a little bit of vision in the river, and because he was spotted out, or he spotted out Good Sir, my apologies, you knew the response would come through from Kenvi on the bottom side of the map for that Rift Herald, because, or my apologies for the Dragon, because their bot lane was also pushed in. So nothing to worry about that. Pretty much free Dragon about 5.5 minutes into the game. So the Rift Herald play is still absolutely
Oh no, Meslo just a little late on the riposte, but it's hard to be able to hit that when it's a stun from Fog of War. And First Blood is going to go over to Copy.
That is. Nice little roam from Copy there. Not going to get punished too hard. Looked like he was able to get a wave in before the back had come through from... Or actually, Nemesis King not back. He just got pushed in pretty difficultly by the Syndra early on. No wave clear match there. Nice roam to get that first kill on Meslo.
And without teleport, Meslo is going to have to take the long walk of shame back to his lane. Good Sir going to soak up all the XP and minions, which as a solo queue jungler never feels too bad. I always like to pick up some of my laners farm, but when it is in a case like this where you know the top laner is getting bullied, or not bullied out of lane, but getting denied farm and experience in a lane that is pivotal on ensuring that you get ahead, this is not a good start for Meslo.
Yeah, not phenomenal. Now, I do point out, though, the one thing is this back end kind of buy from both of them. I'm going to wait for this trade. Oh, my goodness. Oh, he got trapped again.
Oh, another one? Oh, my God.
Oh,
disgusting.
man.
Absolutely filthy.
Caitlyn Morgana, if you land one root, you land 100 of them. That's just the way that it goes. These two have had them under tower the whole game, and Pufu going to find a little bit of trouble getting any of this wave, so that CS lead probably going to grow at least a couple minions now.
Meslo favoring the trade and does repulse the true damage of it, so he's able to win out on that one. But Kenvi1 making his way towards the bottom side of the map does have that Glacial Prison if they want to go for the engage, but Yufeng is going to W over the wall. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Meslo is now in a 1v1 of his life against Tenacity. Does dodge the true damage, gets the healing from the ultimate, the grand challenge. Might be able to go under the tower, but takes one turret shot too many, and it's going to not work out in the end. Tenacity picking up the kill on him. Meanwhile, Gufang Shen getting locked down and does get burned down despite burning the flash. The 3v3 does not work out for them in the end. Kenvi1 also coming in at clutch moment to secure the fact that Otto and Poom do not die. in that gang from Good Sir, and Kemi1 now has a solid possession over this bottom side jungle against Good Sir.
Yeah, no competition can come through on the bottom side of the map with Pufu only on that chain. I don't even know if he had it completed at the time. Might have just bought it on this back. Actually, Kemi1 on the
Glacial
rampage.
Prison comes out, stun looking from copy. It's barely going to miss, and Gufeng is back from base. But there is no way in hell that they want to take this fight against a 2-on-4. And first brick is going to go over to the side of 100 Thieves next.
Yeah, they had already pushed in, I think it was 3, if not 4 tower plates before that fight had started. So just an absolute slaughter in this bot lane. The ADCS Caitlyn with a kill and multiple tower plates to her name now. Just frightfully strong into this matchup. Has nearly the completed Infinity Edge as well. Has multiple components for that one. It's going to be very, very scary.
Nemesis King looking for some harass on the copy, trying to take advantage of the fact that he doesn't have much mana in his pool to work with, but we're already about 3,000 gold ahead for 100 Thieves, and it's not even 10 minutes into the game. Is a staggering gold lead for 100 Thieves to work with, but Nemesis King trying his luck, does flash and ignite under the tower. Can he get the burn with the Hemoplague? It's not going to be enough. Cuppy will be able to survive with his life, but does have to burn his flash in exchange. Tenacity coming in for the Facebreaker flash, looking to knuckle down onto Nemesis King. The Bloodsucker is not going to get it, but I take that back. The Haymaker, true damage, hits him right in the face, and he's going to take down the mid laner.
Yeah, phenomenal run there from Tenacity to be able to come up from that bot lane knowing the fight was going to come through. Good job from him. Nemesis King extended under that tower way too hard for Copy. Wasn't able to land all the damage he needed in order to make that one work. And so he ends up just kind of egg on his face now, going down to Tenacity, having burnt everything in that dive. Really, really feels bad if you're the Vladimir. And now that set, also picking up that extra kill puts Fiora in an even worse place. So again, that win condition from the side of Vital Point is still even further down on the set. So that laning phase is going to be extended even further, and the Fiora not going to be able to break loose for a little bit longer.
Yeah, when we go back to talking about the draft phase, the win conditions for Vital Point Esports, you said it, Rebel Fox, this Fiora and this Vlad needed to get off the ground, and what has just happened here, both solo laners have a death to their name, Meslo 2, for his fair share, and right now, those win conditions are not looking strong enough to be able to combat against this gold lead that 100 Thieves has established for themselves, and Good Sir also down in CS against his counterpick matchup, so not anything that Vital Point Esports need to have happen is just not going right.
Yeah, that's correct. We've been able to do quite a few things to see that. I do believe, I was going to make a point here, the 100 Thieves have been just absolutely ahead of the curve in terms of where their map position should be. So they had the initial roam. Oh, wow. Okay. That happened off screen for me.
I didn't need to interrupt you there. I mean, we all knew what was going to happen right there. That is given. So Mountain Dragon is going to be up on the table here for 100 Thieves. 2 dragons away from Dragon Soul, if they even need that as a win condition to be the final nail in the coffin here. But I completely agree with you, Rebel Fox. Just the map control solely in possession of 100 Thieves at the moment. Turrets being broken on either side lane. So that split push condition from Fiora not looking coming online anytime soon.
Yeah, and not only has 100 Thieves been ahead in terms of every rotation to any neutral objective, but sometimes when they do those kinds of things, there are openings across the map or in certain lanes that would open up for a team to make individual plays. That would be Meslo, Nemesis King trying to take advantage, Good Sir trying to find a gank somewhere. None of those have worked either. Literally nothing has worked against 100 Thieves that has been thrown at them by Vital Point. So none of the individual plays have worked out. Most of the time they're getting punished for that. Rotations have been absolutely on point from the side of 100 Thieves to be in position for neutral objectives, be it a tower, be it a Rift Herald, be it the Dragon now, and they're always winning, getting more than they need to off the bat. So not only are they getting everything that they should be getting in the game, they're getting more because nothing can come about from the plays from Vital Point. So they almost have to just stop trying just to try to buy more space for this Fiora and Vladimir, even though it probably feels bad to not do anything.
Well, the solo plays didn't work out. What about a 2v1? Copy getting burned down, does fire out the Unleashed Power, has a stopwatch to his name as well. Ignite is still burning down, and he's barely. Nemesis King finally gets the last tick that he is needed. I believe that was 2 separate ignites that had to be used from both Gufeng and Nemesis King just to take down Copy.
Yeah, it was a lot of resources expended there. Again, the double ignite, both ultimates as well, just to pick off a side lane Syndra that only has the 1 kill to her name. A GLP Syndra, not to mention. So it's pretty rough. And Auto just buys way more space. Oh my goodness, that one crit Auto.
He has the Infinity Edge to his name, so whenever he does get that headshot, the crit is going to come in massively. Gufeng does land the knockup down onto Auto. Pufu able to get some tickle damage down onto Auto. Does take him about halfway down to his health, but he does have the sustain in his kit to be able to get back up to full health. KenV1 might be in a 1v1 with Good Sir, looking for the permafrost stun. Does have the Glacial Prison if he wants to get it down. Here comes the ace in the hole from Auto, and KenV1 locks him down. Has Glacial Prison just saved for Meslo, and Tenacity knuckle down once again to get another kill to his name. 4-0-1 on the boss here, as we do see Nemesis King trying to push on into the top side lane. Is not going to be able to find any success with it either.
Nemesis King, the only one able to actually accomplish anything in his individual lane. I don't think, like, Pufu and Gufeng have not been able to find anything. Good Sir has been hunted. Meslo's been hunted down by their lane opponents basically the entire time. Their number has been had. And Tenacity is now turning into the split push threat instead of the Fiora, which is just a terrible place to be. Fiora nowhere near a completed item. Again, the Sejuani is ahead of the counter pick Trundle. You've got bottom lane is just destroying in terms of gold right now. Just massive advantage. So the Syndra doesn't need to outplay, doesn't need to do anything crazy.
Flash comes out from Nemesis King, but KenV1 is there for the cleanup, and he's able to save his mid laner from certain death, and Copy still gets the kill to his name. This is absolutely demoralizing if you're Vital Point Esports.
Yeah, 13 health on Copy after that play had come through. That was so close. But again, that's what I'm talking about. When the rotations or when the freedom is there to make these individual plays, Vital Point has still come up short. No solo kill there from Nemesis King. None under the mid tower when he tried to make that dive earlier, and always punished. The one kill they got when they spent all their resources was not enough to get them back into this one. And again, it almost feels like they can't take those chances anymore, and they just kind of have to sit and take what's given to them instead of trying to make things happen, because all it's doing is putting more momentum into the hands of 100 Thieves to work with around the map.
And while it might be rash to go ahead and start looking at plans for the next game and what Vital Point Esports need to do about going into the latter part of this series, because, I mean, it's 8,000 gold down at 15 minutes. So unless, you know, a series of unfortunate events, handy a Lemony Snicket does happen against 100 Thieves, then there's realistically not many opportunities that Vital Point Esports have to be able to get a comeback win in here. However, Poom is... I take that back. This is all a debate. They thought that Poom was caught out, but it was all an elaborate ruse, as Gufeng expending almost just about everything just to be able to get the hell out of there. Pufu getting locked down by another Dark Binding. Auto is actually flashing it, and he takes him down. Just to add insult to injury, 100 Thieves are just on a roll right now.
Call an ambulance, but not for Poom, that's for sure. The rest of his team sitting in that brush behind him, making sure that he has all the backup he needs. The stopwatch as well to prevent any aggression from coming through. And again, Gufeng tried to get onto the Cinder. He was able to, but there's no follow-up from the rest of his team. Just complete command of the map. They try to force something yet again, and now a second Rift Herald going to go the way of the side of 100 Thieves. Tenacity and Meslo. Ooh, two people here.
Oh, well, maybe they have a chance to be able to take Tenacity down, as we've learned from anything. The flash comes out for Tenacity, but beautiful riposte is just not enough. Tenacity is just so damn far ahead, and look at the amounts of regen that he has. Good Sir is going to have to walk the hell out of there if he wants to escape Copy. He's seen this story before. He does go down for his efforts, but meanwhile, on the bottom side of the map, the story was completed. Tenacity did take down the Troll King himself in the bot lane, and once again, Tenacity 6-0-1 on the set, looking to complete the Trinity Force. I don't think there's anyone on Vital Point Esports that could take him down.
No, it's very unlikely, especially with the completed Trinity Force and now Executioner, so there's even no sustain from Vladimir that can come through. Just terrifying. During that play, I think Good Sir actually may have cost the life of Meslo faster, because he pillared in front of Meslo, not allowing him to walk away. So he trapped him against the set, which is not where you want to be if you're the Fiora. Yeah, I'm helping, exactly. And Cataclysm coming in from Jarvan, locking him in place. But exactly, that's what I saw happen. Is just Tenacity got trapped him into the pillar, and then once the Fiora is that there's no damage coming from this Trundle. He has no AD. He has one armor item, and it was a fully stacked Conqueror set. More than enough damage in that to absolutely take the 2v1.
To bring back to the point that you were talking about earlier, how every time there was a solo kill opportunity for the side of Vital Point Esports and they tried to take it and it just fell short of mixed execution, maybe that is the mistake that they need to look at going into this next game, because we talked about how if Meslo wanted to get off the ground, he needed to make sure that Good Sir was going to be able to take him down. All right, let's see if Tenacity can get out of this one. He's in
Three
a
people.
1v3, Facebreaker spree,
Oh!
gets the true damage off. He takes down one, but Nemesis King doesn't need the Hemo Plague to be able to get the shutdown onto the boss. Oh no. Okay. Fufu, able to live again, does not face the wrath of Otto with this Halo Blades Caitlyn, now sitting on Infinity Edge and the Essence Reaver. You don't want to walk into... You don't want to face check that, unless, of course, you're the one doing the face checking and you're millions of gold ahead. But Otto, along with Chem1 and Poom, just having sole possession of this bottom side jungle, along with Copy. They're pushing up onto the bottom side of the map. Tenacity is down for another few seconds, but Rift Herald will be dropping down.
Yeah, so they continue to make some of these plays around the map. You made mention of it for game 2. Maybe look to stop that. Here's how I imagine this game going. Was similar to this, but no kills top for the most part. No kills in the jungle. That bottom lane I expected to lose in terms of CS. I think there's going to be a fight here. There might actually... Oh, she jumped out of the way!
God.
No!
Rebel Fox, I don't know what to tell you right here, but everyone on Vital Point Esports is dropping like flies. They might be able to take down Otto, but for what cost? The shutdown does come in for Nemesis King, but Nemesis King, can he be able to 1v4 out of this situation alive? He does take down another one to Poom, but he cannot escape the wrath of a full tank Sejuani, who seems to be doing more damage than Poofoo at this point in the game. And that just goes to show you what kind of state we are in when Chem1, a carry jungler in his own right, says, you know what, Sejuani is a good pick for us right now. Inhibitors going down on the bottom side of the map, as well as the middle lane as well.
I mean, Sejuani has the most KP of anybody on our team with 9. At this point, the Sejuani is the carry of the team. It was a good try from Vital Point in that one. They were able to get Vladimir on top of Otto and Poom, and so those two were able to go down very quickly. There was no more consistent damage from Otto, but it was too little too late. The damage had already been done. Good Sir got pushed out very early. Hufu and Gufang are way too squishy and have 0 damage to contribute to fights, and Meslo wasn't able to accomplish anything either. So it's all on Nemesis King just to put out as much damage as he can, and he doesn't have enough for all 5 members yet. And actually, that was a 4v5. Tenacity was in the mid lane pushing up for that middle inhibitor, and he was able to get that too in the meantime. So, I mean, you didn't even see the full fighting force of 100 Thieves, and you saw the kind of damage. That was an absolute perfect fight from Vital Point. Yeah, that's bad.
Meslo walking to a dark alleyway, Tenacity approaches, and goodbye. That's we've seen that horror story before.
Oh, we're seeing this one too.
We've seen this story multiple times throughout this game. I don't know why Copy keeps going up here thinking he's all by himself, but maybe with the phase rush and the glacial proc from the item, the GLP, is going to allow him to survive. And he pops the Zhonya's Hourglass to be able to dodge. The Hemo Plague Ace in the hole will come out onto Poofoo, taking him down. Now here comes the reinforcements. Poom being able to get the Soul Shackles down onto the Bloodsucker himself. Copy will get another kill to his name. Look at the damage coming out from Otto. Melee range on the Troll King. He doesn't give a damn. He's going to take him down. Otto after Otto will take one more down for a full ace. Copy teleporting into the base. Tenacity's already pushing on to the Nexus turrets, and game 1 will surely go over to 100 Thieves.
That it will. A fantastically played game from the side of 100 Thieves, and maybe a poorly executed just initial game plan here from the side of Vital Point. They weren't able to get the Fiora going, actually put her dramatically behind in the early game. Went over and over, just trying to get aggressive somewhere on the map. Were never able to make the play and make a transition into anything. Lost pretty much every objective in the meantime. Vital Point just had nothing going for them in this one.
I think the key point to take away here, Rebel Fox, is that there was a lot of unnecessary solo kill attempts, or if you're going to make those solo kill attempts, then you got to be able to have the execution to make it actually work out in the end, because there's 2 times where we saw Mezzo with the first solo kill attempt, and it resulted in both of their flashes being burned, and I'm going to assume that it was misexecuted because he was on the losing end of that trade. And then the key thing here is that when Flash is down from Tenacity, Vital Point Esports don't take advantage of that, but 100 Thieves do. As soon as they recognize that Meslo is vulnerable to a gank, it doesn't even take Kenby1 to go up there. Copy finds the roam at the right time, is able to snipe him with that stun from the Fog of War, punishes him, and maybe that is just what 100 Thieves just has in terms of advantage over Vital Point Esports, in terms of showing from game 1 that they actually communicate and set up the team plays to be able to get ahead. It's not about individually showing that you're better. It's actually working with your team to set yourself up for that snowball.
That's correct. Yeah. A big part of this for me actually is that I see what Vital Point was trying to go for here. They want a self sufficient top side of the map. And what they want on the bottom side of the map is something that you can play around in mid lane, something that's comfortable for Nemesis King, and then a bot lane that's going to soak pressure and not really lose too hard, like a bend don't break style. And then, of course, they just get the counter pick of the Trundle to throw into the mix. The problem was bot lane lost ridiculously hard, which was expected, but not maybe as hard as they did lose. They lost their tower, they lost top tower. They had I think all 10 plates in mid and or bottom and top went over to auto in this, which is just a ridiculous amount of gold. And the problem was their self-sufficient top laner also lost the matchup because he got snowballed against. And so when you're losing that hard bot lane and top lane, that's spilling into your jungle. And then it doesn't matter what kind of plays you can make around your mid laner. It's just not going to work. If they can make that composition, what they were going for with that work in this one, it's going to look a lot different because Nemesis King was doing some work in those fights. When they had those pure 2v1s, those kind of pick-off potentials with Nemesis King up against Copy, it didn't look too bad. So if you can get that going without giving up everything you lost in top and bot, could look like a different Vital Point squad.
Right. And do we then attribute fault to, is it the naiveness of, if that is even the correct word, for Vital Point Esports solo laners in Meslo and Nemesis King for thinking that they can win those 1v1s or ensure that they can get the solo kills necessary to snowball themselves by themselves without the help of Good Sir or Goofang to set up the CC necessary to make those kills happen?
I think for Nemesis King, I think there were a couple of times where he actually would have had an outplay if there weren't people all around him to punish him immediately afterwards.
Mhm.
Like that dive in mid, if it weren't for a fantastic room for tenacity, he would have probably gotten away with that scot-free. And he would have burnt the flash off of Copy, so it would have been absolutely worthwhile for Nemesis King in that fight. But there was the punishment afterwards. Now, Meslo, on the other hand, he played his counter matchup. He knew what he was playing into, got his choice of champion, and still couldn't make it work because they punished him too heavily, as you said, with that run for Copy, consistent ganks, tenacity, just being on a dominant champion. So if they're going to do the same thing, they need to have a perfect matchup here for Meslo, where he can kind of isolate himself from the rest of the map. That way, that creates the self-sufficiency. So if that's the pace, I want to see Good Sir on something more proactive, something like Lee Sin, that he can invade against Kenvi and kind of control the map state at any point, given where the jungler is.
Right. Or someone that offers strong gank assistance as well. But we will be finding out what happens for both of these teams as we get ready for game 2 and draft with just a quick technical break. Stay tuned, everyone. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting ready for game 2 between 100 Thieves next and Vital Point Esports. And the big question is, Rebel Fox, is this just going to be an easy 2-0 for 100 Thieves, or will Vital Point Esports be able to take that game 1 in with humility and come out with a more sound draft and a better executed plan?
Like I said in game 1 or before game 1, it's hard to ever bet against 100 Thieves. They are just crazy the way that they played that game 1. There's ways that you can throw wrenches into the system, but it's been hard for anybody to get anything to stick well enough for them to actually win. It's because 100 Thieves are just good as a systematic team. You got to cause basically disarray across the map and just hope that you can turn it into a fiesta. They want to turn the game into a festa. If they can turn the game into a fiesta,
Right.
that would be the best way to play from Vital Point. That would be ideal for them because then you try to snowball Nemesis King, play in the fiesta with a super powerful champion. That would be ideal. But I don't foresee that happening. So if you're going to play methodical, play around Nemesis King, play very safe in other lanes, just try to scale to late, do your best to just try to get there.
Yeah, the Fiora win condition for Meslo unfortunately didn't work out in Vital Point's best interest here. First of all, getting that first solo kill attempt didn't work out, the flash being burned, and as well as the teleport, and then a well-timed drone from Copy to be able to punish the lack of summoners and the lack of vision control over on the top side of the map, set Meslo so far behind, and it set up Tenacity for success. Now, that game plan, the teamwork between 100 Thieves, Vital Point needs to be able to have some instances of that for Nemesis King, as you said, Rebel Fox, because Nemesis King, despite not being able to come out on top with the first solo kill attempt against Copy, there was some moments of brilliance where he was able to take down Tenacity with the help of his friends, as well as being able to take down Copy with the assistance from Gufang. We need to see similar plays like that. These solo kill attempts, if you're going to go for them, then you better be able to accept the consequences that if it messes up, then you've cost your team a lead, you've cost your team an advantage. And yeah, that's as harsh as it may seem, that's the reality.
Yeah. And Nemesis King wasn't exactly on the perfect champion to be super aggressive early with. Obviously, with the ultimate, you can all in basically any champion, especially mages, because they're a little bit squishier than most champions.
Right.
But it's still hard to find everything you need into that 1v1 matchup. So if they get Nemesis King something he can be more aggressive with, something that potentially more assassin-like maybe, like I said, if the Echo came through instead of the Vladimir, might have been a very different story in that mid lane dive where he can generate his own play. So if they can put mid lane on more of an island as well, because Copy immediately had an impact on the map by roaming up to kill Meslo, then didn't die in the mid lane gank. So it was Copy just soaking pressure over and over again from Nemesis King and never really like losing whatsoever. So if they're able to snap that matchup, if they're able to say, okay, Nemesis King gets Copy, I got you for 5 minutes basically, then Nemesis King might actually have a chance at spiking himself, and then it's more pressure that Good Sir can put across the map if they're able to get that kind of advantageous 1v1.
Yeah, and we also discussed before the game 1 ended that Good Sir needs to be on a more proactive jungler, someone that has more on-demand crowd control early on. And I mean, Trundle, great counter pick into Sejuani, but if you're not able to make the ganks work with that pillar, then Trundle doesn't really have anything to offer other than activating Frozen Domain, running you down. And when you're looking at champions like Syndra, like Caitlyn, it's very easy for them to be able to disengage and escape from a gank without pillar working successfully. But we're going to see what is the draft of choice for Vital Points this time around, as Yasuo being the first ban from 100 Thieves. You don't need to fix what isn't broken in terms of the drafting priorities. Vital Point, however, taking away the set, recognizing that Tenacity was the boss that game, no pun intended, and 100 Thieves actually might be switching up a couple bans here. Nautilus is going to be coming around for them instead of the Misfortune or the Aphelios.
Yeah, this time I would imagine that they're looking to protect one of those two AD carries, especially because now Lee Sin is off the board. They're guaranteed to get either Aphelios or MF for auto here, and those are two of his better played champions. It's also possible they go for the Senna pick here. That was banned in the first rotation last time by Vital Point, and they could opt for that. It's something I'm sure Auto is more than willing to play. He's a very good Senna player, and they could be setting up for that by banning out some of these aggressive picks.
And they're taking out MF, and Aphelios is open on the table if that is what Auto wants, but Senna is also available for the taking. However, Ornn is on the table.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna throw that out there. So,
Yeah, there it
oh
is.
my god.
So the reason why they prioritize Ornn here, because I was kind of expecting it for the third ban here from the side of Vital Point, is that the Senna's not going to get picked by Vital Point. They're not worried about losing that matchup. So as long as they can get Tahm Kench or Braum, because they won't be able to pick both on the side of Vital Point, and they get Senna, so then they get Ornn on top of all of it by prioritizing Ornn first, and that would be the imagination here. Thelios going to get locked in to the Aatrox counter.
Is Aatrox even a counter pick to an Ornn when Ornn can just 100-0 you with Ignite at level 6? I mean, let's be real here. Olaf, another ban that was not locked in by Vital Point this time around. Chem-V1 definitely is very fond of this Viking being able to just run in and completely destroy his enemy opponent here. And oh my gosh. Oh,
terrifying.
Jesus
Oh no.
Christ.
Yeah, Kenvi had his Sejuani duty time, and now he gets to play very Chad Olaf with a Yuumi attached. If anybody has not had the experience of having an Olaf Yuumi in your game, you haven't known true fear. Because that Olaf gets a couple kills under his belt, has that warrior, that black cleaver, and has a Yuumi supercharging him into your team. There is very little, if anything, that you can do about it.
Yeah, let's just be grateful that Soraka is not as OP in the top lane as she was before. Because if did you see the LCK game where Afrika Freaks ran Soraka top Olaf in the jungle for Spirit and then a Yuumi support? Yeah. That Olaf never died. He just kept running in. He kept swinging axes. He kept doing true damage, and he just didn't die. I'm pretty sure he got a quadra kill that game. Yeah. And so, and this is just half the power, but still, Yuumi on Olaf is an absolute terror. The Thresh coming in, very cool. I mean, if you're able to punish the Yuumi whenever she is not attached to someone, you have that small window to be able to lock her down, and she is not able to reattach to someone for quite some time. Caitlyn being taken away from 100 Thieves, they respect the Halo Blades tech that Otto used in. The Jarvan taken away from Vital Points as well.
Imagine, yeah, there's the Ezreal ban again. I would have thought that that'd be the case because obviously there aren't tons of ADCs that are particularly good about dodging out on Thresh hooks. So now there is potential for Vital Points bot lane to actually get some aggression into whatever Yuumi lane they're going for here. So now I don't think the Senna could come through. Senna fits into that Olaf composition the same way the Soraka would, in that it gives additional heals and damage to the Olaf as he runs into a team. I don't think that happens anymore. Lucian might be the option here. They could go for more of a death ball setup with a Lucian, have the Lucian Yuumi bot lane where you could dodge out the hooks with Thresh, get aggressive onto Aphelios, and then later in the game, I mean, it's just Ornn engaged with Olaf, Lucian running in with Yuumi attached to one of the two.
100 Thieves still have to think about what is their bottom laner of choice. I'm not going to say 80 carry, just in case we see something like a mage bot lane. I don't know if that would work as well with the Yuumi. However, Vital Point Esports locking in the Cassiopeia and saving their jungler for the counter pick despite knowing that Chem-V1 is more than likely running Olaf. So you have to imagine that maybe there's something else that they're waiting for 100 Thieves to show.
That, or they're trying to steal that Cassiopeia away, just thinking that would be the consistent damage. But they left Zoe up, and Zoe is certainly the best champion that Copy's got in his arsenal. I've seen it before. He is a beast at this champion. Not much you can do to stop that. Not bad into Cassiopeia either. If the Cassiopeia is not advancing through the wave, if she's trying to go around, you get bubbled, nothing you can do. I think Ashe could be the run here. Yeah, Ashe could be the run just for some utility.
And while Ashe does not have any innate safety in terms of dashes to get out of sticky situations without the flash, she does have strong engage and utility with not only her auto attacks being able to slow, but also just the crystal enchanted arrow as a ways of engaging, pairing that with a Ornn ultimate, or if you want to go for a pick with that Zoe Sleepy Trouble bubble, you can find something. Oh, so I believe this is going to be Aatrox going to the jungle for good Sir Cassiopeia in the top lane, and then the Kassadin will be going into the Zoe matchup.
It could be. It could also be the Kassadin top lane. I've seen it flexed around a little bit, especially if you go for a tankier build. I know tanky Kassadin is actually really popular right now, and Ornn cannot kill Kassadin once he starts to build tank. So you can actually sit in that lane, scale, and not like Ornn. What is he going to do into Kassadin also in that particular top lane matchup? If he tries to E in, you ult away. If he ults you, you ult away. Kassadin just can't get across the ton. And then Olaf also, when he tries to run down Kassadin, also has no free. So top lane, might be a safe haven for him up there. Although it's possible, as you said, they could be using it to shut down the Zoe in the mid lane, and Cassiopeia perfectly fine matchup in the corner as well. I like the flexibility from Vital Point.
This is very cool. And you know what? I do remember now that you're mentioning it that there was some instances popping up in Korean solo queue of this top lane tank Kassadin. He does run the Unsealed Spellbook, very similar to Ornn, and it goes something like the Iceborne Gauntlet, Rod of Ages build. I mean, I think in the past we have seen a top lane tank Kassadin build, and it worked particularly well into those tank matches because you know you're not going to get punished. I wouldn't put it past Ornn though if he's running Ignite that he might be able to pressure Kassadin at some point. But like you said, there's no realistic way for Kassadin, if Meslo is the one piloting this and is playing it correctly, that he should die. And if you can't beat the Ornn in the early game, then just pick a scaling champion to match with it.
Yeah. You know, it's even crazier. I don't know. I don't recall if this has been patched in yet with the Spell Thieves yet. But in some matchups where you don't feel comfortable farming from melee range, you actually just play Spell Thieves casted in top lane and build that tank, which would be crazy to watch, where it's literally just Q harass to generate gold. That's similar to what you've been seeing. I don't know if they patched that yet to where it has to be 2 people around. I think that's next patch, so it's probably still viable right now in 10.4 to actually play something like that, which is crazy to think about. We could see a support item casted in top lane as the response to Ornn.
Yeah, we'll have to see here. We're for those that are wondering, we are just currently waiting on one of the teammates to get set up as they're having some technical difficulties. But the way you explained that to me, Rebel Fox, I'm not gonna lie, that just sounds like a Kmart brand version of Kleptomancy Gangplank from Days of Old. So I'm that's kind of cool and that's kind of jank at the same time. But I really love jank stuff anyways. So it's you know, we're getting a best of both worlds. We're seeing some exciting stuff, which you know I'm glad that Vital Point is throwing out, because if you're playing against a team that is showing to be playing as a team better than your team, then you might as well just throw out some curveballs and see what can happen.
That's correct. The one thing, surprisingly, I actually really like the way that Vital Point set up this game right now, because they have win conditions across everybody. Their super late game condition is Kassadin in that top lane. He can tear through a team, especially an Olaf team where you're going to be super powering. If Yuumi Olaf runs past into the backline, Kassadin just destroys the Ashe, the Zoe, the Ornn on the backside of the fight, or at least the Zoe and the Ashe. So there's no follow-up damage. So that's the problem there. This 100 Thieves composition is based very heavily around Kenvi. If Kenvi doesn't get rolling, or if Copy doesn't get going for some follow-up damage, this team kind of falls off in terms of damage, especially against the likes of Aatrox, Cassiopeia, Kassadin, and Aphelios late game. And there's pick potential with Thresh. Team fight's not really there. The tankiness is there from Aatrox and Kassadin a little bit, but there's no real frontline or massive engage to worry about. But there's still plenty to worry about on the back end in terms of damage or responding to the pressure that an Olaf will bring. So this draft to me feels a lot stronger from the side of Vital Point.
I'm very impressed with this Cassiopeia Aatrox flex. Although I'm gonna be honest, I haven't seen Aatrox jungle do well in quite some time, ever since the excruciating amount of nerfs targeting his laning phase and therefore his ability to work inside the jungle as well. But I guess it can work. I'm just very concerned that Kenvi 1, if he's able to find the right pathing, there's nothing Aatrox can really do to be able to escape out of that situation if the Umbral Dash is not available. Because in the early game, it's not on a short cooldown. I believe it's at least 17 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. So that's...
It's very high, yeah, that's for sure. Like I said, the Aatrox, I don't know that that's a phenomenal pick. It must be just comfort for something from a good good sir. He had his choice of jungler when the Olaf was up, and he chose the Aatrox, I believe. I don't think that could have been flex potentially, but I'm pretty sure he would have chosen that a little bit earlier in the draft than they would have seen. So he must have some trick up his sleeve, hopefully, for the Aatrox versus Olaf matchup. I'm curious to see whether he wants to build Cinderhulk as a way of clearing jungle faster. It's a little bit of an effective way to get him very tanky and be a very good frontliner for this team to throw out some CC and be more of that bot. Because, I mean, some junglers, they're building Cinderhulk and building the rest damage. It happens because of the way that Cinderhulk buffs just worked. So you could go like Cinderhulk, Black Cleaver, Aatrox, and hope to be a fantastic frontline, similar to what a Jarvan would do.
Right. And that is something that we did see in seasons past, where Cinderhulk was just objectively a better item choice for pro teams to itemize in, because they needed some frontline. And when you look at this Vital Point Esports squad, Thresh isn't necessarily a tank that's going to outmatch what Tenacity can do on this Ornn. And Kemby1 is also not necessarily a frontliner, but a person that just runs past the front line and doesn't care, and then he just tries to assassinate your backline.
Yeah, and especially with Kassadin. I mean, Kassadin is the mid laner here. Oh, they're messing around with their picks. Look, they swapped Ornn and Zoe, so they're going to play Zoe top. But again, I don't know whether Kassadin's going to be flexed in the top lane and it's just Nemesis King playing the champion, or if it's going to be that mid lane pick. And if it's that mid lane pick and he goes typical assassin Kassadin, that was really fun to say. I've never said that before. That was really fun to say. Anyway, Kassadin, if he doesn't play full tank again, Aatrox is really that front line, which would be troublesome, especially because the Ragnarok from Olaf combined with the Yuumi healing, and then also bubble zoning, arrow zoning from Ashe, or an ultimate to deal with. Like, there's so much other stuff to worry about. I don't know that Aatrox is going to be able to put on the pressure to soak the damage from Olaf.
Right. Well, we're going to see how these things come to fruition. But before we do, we're going to have a quick word from our sponsors. For Kono Keyboard, if you're looking to take your game to the next level, it all starts with your peripherals. From keyboards to keycaps, mice, and more, our friends at Kono have got you covered. Kono works with the world's best designers, inventors, and makers to bring you some of the best gaming peripherals around. Kono have been huge supporters of us here at Upsurge, and they've made generous contributions to our prize pools. So if you need to find a new keyboard, just check out the Hexgears X1 RGB low-profile Bluetooth mechanical keyboard. That's right, that is a Bluetooth mechanical keyboard. It is the best of both worlds. You're going to have those satisfying switches as well as wireless technology. I mean, because who doesn't like wires? You can use the discount code UpsurgeGG for 7% off your first order. For more information, head over to kono.store to check out all they have to offer. That's KONO.store. Kono, discover amazing products. We are back on the Rift for Game 2 between 100 Thieves Next and Vital Point Esports. And as we've seen coming into the loading screen, it really believe that Otto is just the patron of Halo Blades this patch, as he's running that Keystone again, this time on the Ashe.
That he is. For anybody who doesn't know, last patch or just this most recent patch, Halo Blades got changed so that now not only is the duration for between autos longer, it's 3 seconds instead of 2, but the big change is that you don't have to be out of combat completely. You only have to be out of combat with champions to reset it. Now it's a little longer, it's about 8 seconds, but that means when you're consistently autoing the wave, you don't have to back off for 4 or 5 seconds just to get a reset on Halo Blades. It's really good on Ashe because you're able to stack your Ranger's passive a lot faster. That lets you get to that Ranger's focus and use that Q, which is really, really good for trading. So it's a phenomenal use on some of these ADCs, and that's the big reason why you're seeing it so much in this series.
Yeah, and it helps ADCs out in terms of not having to stop their tempo push and prioritizing for the level 2 or level power spikes or just shoving into the lane. But Kemi1 taking a delayed invade, and Meslo is going to be the first one to see him. Now the first axe has been thrown, and so if we know anything about the first axe thrown, you got to be able to flash it. But flashing over to the Baron Pit wall is not going to save you from certain death. You're just going to get a flash exchange from Kemi1, but he'll take that trade any day, and the Vikings on the board with first blood.
Yeah, just gorgeous. The flash trade level 1 for Kenvi, going to be able to run down that Cassiopeia, put him in a terrible place. That was to burn the TP just to get the lane fast enough too. And again, the Olaf is the one you want spiking in this game. That is the big front line, the guy who's going to be doing a ton of damage with the Yumi attached to him. So getting him ahead this early is already a fantastic sign for 100 Thieves of things to come.
And having both of the summoners down onto Meslo means that we talk about the level 6 power spike for Ornn in... He has access to Ignite from the Unsealed Spellbook, and he has access to the Call of the Forge God, and we've seen what this full tank mage assassin can do to very squishy champions, and Meslo, yes, he is on a powerful Snick, but the Snick does not have any summoners to escape certain death, so only a matter of time, Rebel Fox, I'm calling it.
Yeah, very heavily has to play to his range, and also has to be backed up a little further. He wants the wave closer to his tower, so that way the Olaf can't just sit on this lane and run him down a second time. Kenvi would be very rough. Kenvi's super low in his jungle. If the counter jungle comes through from Aatrox, it could be really, really good. Obviously, Olaf wants to stay super low for his clear. It gives him more attack speed, allows him to clear a lot faster. In fact, actually, he's ahead of the Aatrox in terms of farming, even though he actually killed the champion and was like tire camp down earlier. That's pretty terrifying to think about.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Meslo is having a hard time walking up to this lane, and Tenacity is going to try to test his luck here. Does eventually lose out onto the trade, as Meslo does have the corrupting pot, but Tenacity is just exchanging health to be able to burn away these stacks that Meslo it has to rely on for that early lane sustain. And without teleport, if he's forced to back early, he's going to miss out on a lot of XP and gold.
That he is. And Olaf currently sitting in that tribe rush, getting behind Meslo would be very detrimental to him. In fact, he's going to run out now.
No. I mean, Rebel Fox, I mean, what am I going to say here? I mean, Meslo has no summoners. There's no way he gets out of this one alive. Tenacity burning the flash to guarantee it. And he says, here you go, Kenvi1. Here is a treat for you. And Compy solo kills Nemesis King. This is not what you want to see if you are rooting for Vital Point Esports. The solo laners dying early.
Yeah, it was very strange to see the mid lane kill go through as well. I think maybe it's possible Goodsir was looking for a gank into the mid lane because he saw that Kenvi had went into the top side. But maybe Nemesis King just walked up a little too fast there. Was able to get it nice hook onto Otto.
Actually, great death sentence from Gufang is forced to pop the cleanse for Otto, but he's going to be able to walk it out safely. But a summoner down is definitely something to work with. Copy getting quite low, but thankfully for him, RNG does bless him today, and he gives him the gift of redemption, so he's able to sustain back up and is not in any threat of dying from a flash all in from Nemesis King. But Kenvi1, actually flash from Gufang, getting the play down onto Otto, forcing his own flash as well. The Gravitum is there for the crowd control. They're locking him down. Heal's going to be popped, but it is not enough. But Pufu will have to die for his sins as Tenacity is teleported to the bottom lane, and the GOAT will be able to take him down.
A nice response. Good aggression onto the Ashe, knowing the previous fight, the cleanse had been used on the hook and the flash had already been burnt from Otto to make sure he can't get away. So nice little engagement there. Of course, Poom doesn't have the kind of healing he needs early on in the game to sustain through something like that. So just a great engagement there. Press the attack also, and Pufu certainly helping out during that engagement. Good TP from Tenacity to kind of punish the back end of it, but certainly you're giving Cassiopeia more time to push in a wave. You're giving a little bit of free experience and farm in that direction. So all in all, I think Vital Point finally found some reprieve for the early game.
Just shy of 1,200 gold lead for 100 Thieves, but this time they do have a kill to their name for Vital Point Esports earlier on. It is in favor of Pufu, but if we take a look at the gold graphs, it's only a 300, 400 gold advantage for Pufu, so it's not going to be groundbreaking anytime soon, but Otto opting in for the Vamp Scepter will have a little slightly more sustain advantage versus Pufu, but if they can find another successful all-in and burst him down before he has a chance to get that life steal working for him, then maybe you have another opportunity.
Yeah, so I also want to highlight something that happened earlier. So they saw Aatrox in the mid lane, and they watched him walk back into his topside jungle without any sort of pressure in the mid side. So a back came out from Kenvi almost immediately, and he walks back out, and knowing that Good Sir was clearing his way down, and Good Sir just backed. So they were able to get Dragon priority just because of the way the bot lane fight had played out. Both of them had gotten back, so it was pretty much even lane, and they knew that the jungler was off the map at the time. So good read from Kenvi, getting a free Dragon for his team this early on. Cloud Drake's pretty nice to have. Good flat stats, 10% of your ultimate cooldown.
Yeah. Beautiful map read from Kemi 1, and especially when you're on a champion like Olaf who can solo the dragon with very little difficulty, you can take those opportunities.
Uh-oh.
But Pufu actually getting locked down. Thankfully, he has the Lantern, but the flash comes out from Kemi 1. Not even popping the Ragnarok, as he doesn't even need it. He's still only level 5 is enough to be able to take him down. Meanwhile, Copy getting the solo kill onto Nemesis King. Do we see another solo kill onto the top lane?
Nice.
A beautiful miasma from Maeslo does not allow Tenacity be able to call the second instance of the Forge God, but Copy gets the solo kill onto Good Sir. Looks like Good Sir had the advantage, but the Sleepy Trouble Bubble comes out. Mezzo flashing over the wall. He wants Copy. There's not enough mana from Copy to be able to get the 1v1, and there is Gufeng for the extra assurance. A shutdown comes in for the Snake double kill, but the action doesn't stop here. The Viking has come from the depths of bot lane and is looking to exact his revenge for his fallen comrades and takes down the Snake.
Just terrifying. Meslo finally gets a lot of pressure put back into his favor. There's more fighting on the bot side. I don't know if this counts to anything. Thankfully, yeah, they're just not willing to let this team sit anywhere. But yeah, that's going to be the break there. But yeah, again, thankfully, the bot lane fight did go the way of the Olaf. Kenvi worked his way back up the river to thankfully punish Meslo. But Meslo getting 2 kills in that top lane and the mid lane, really good shutdowns for him, especially onto Copy, who had been up 3 kills. So that shutdown gold going to the Cassiopeia helps take away some of that early game loss he had been at. Not really going to help against the Ornn once that magic resist starts to come in, but certainly better for his later and mid-game.
2,000 gold lead now for the side of 100 Thieves, although there were a couple trains that Vital Point Esports opted in to take. I will give credit to Mezzo for getting a beautiful outplay onto Tenacity. It looked like Tenacity wanted or favored himself in that 1v1, but the Miasma being able to stop the second instance of the ultimate gave him the upper advantage he needed to get that 1v1 in his favor, and now he is one step closer towards that Seraph's Embrace, which will be a huge power spike as Mezlo can spam even more of those Twin Fangs. Nemesis King taking a lot of damage from that Sleepy Trouble Bubble into Q combo here, and Copy is just 3-1-2 on the Zoe. This is terrifying.
That is scary to go up against Zoe. Also the GLP Zoe, so if this Kassadin doesn't have ults readily available for him, like he goes way too much, doesn't have the mana for it, then the GLP is going to set up a bubble very nicely for Copy here onto pretty much anybody around the map. Doesn't have the same kind of wave clear that Elude might, but certainly has its absolute priority. Oh no.
Crystal Enchanted Arrow into the last chapter, but here comes Good Sir, 2v3. Can they get out of this situation alive? The flash comes in from Good Sir, and Otto still has his own flash, and it looks like he doesn't need to expend any of those sums. The healing from Yumi as well as the kiting might be allow them to turn this one around, and Good Sir, if he doesn't have Emerald Ass, there's no way he's getting this one out. Dark Passage doesn't seem to be off cooldown, and Good Sir will actually fall to Otto and Poom.
Yeah, I'm a little curious there. It looked like Good Sir was trying to set up a gank. He got a really good chain of CC towards the end there, but he had a third Q proc when they were sitting basically on top of him, and he waited, I think, for an E to make sure it would land, and that took cooldown that he had to wait for, and because of that, Otto was able to heal up from the cooldowns coming back up from Poom on the heal, and then the auto attack slowing him down, prevent his escape. So I don't know, it might have just been he knew he didn't have follow-up, so he didn't think he could burst out the Ashe, but that third Q would have hit without the E dash. So maybe just a little bit hesitant on that one, and too much so it's going to cost him his life.
You can see the desperation coming out from Vital Point Esports as they're trying to find something, and we have to come back to the draft.
Ooh.
Good Sir saying that, you know what, give me this Aatrox pick. I'm going to make it work. But we look at this individual matchup right now. KenV1 is 4-0, has the Warrior enchantment. Good Sir still working on his own jungle enchantment. Thankfully, a Dark Passage will be the passage to safety that he needs to be able to get out of that 1v1. But KenV, 2 levels up on the Olaf, potentially looking at a level 9 for a 3-level difference. I mean, when a jungler is this far behind, in this current meta, it is very hard to come back when you're Good Sir.
Yeah, there's Thresh and Aatrox sitting in the mid lane for a counter gank potentially.
Ignite comes out. Good Sir looking for the engage, popping the World Ender, but it looks like his world might about to end when Tenacity is coming in. Crystal Enchanted Arrow from the Fog of War as well. Snipes down, but Nemesis King looking for an exchange trade. Does get the shutdown onto Copy. Is able to Rift Walk away, having to burn his flash. A 1-for-1. You have to imagine could be favorable for the side of Vital Point Esports, but Rift Herald will be dropped in the mid lane.
Has the ultimate. No, doesn't have the ultimate.
Oh my god, Lost Chapter. The harass just never stops. Pufu in a 1v2 cannot escape the CC chain that is Poom, and Otto will pick another kill to his name.
Yeah, having the Aphelios alone in the bottom lane, he has no mobility to his name whatsoever. So if either of the ultimates are up from Poom or Otto here, he's pretty much a dead man. There's not much that you can do at this point in the game. A decent fight in the mid lane there. They're responding. The Aatrox did get punished. The TP was burnt from Tenacity, which was pretty big. And then also the kill going to Nemesis King was rather nice. He was able to get a flash ultimate on a Copy. I think he was 2 or 3 stacks in on the ultimate too. So plenty of damage to work with there. This, of course, gives the second dragon of the game over to the side of 100 Thieves. So 4,000 gold lead, not terrible compared to last game. Looks a little more competitive. And not to mention, that late game, you're still talking about Cassiopeia, Cassid, and Aphelios late game, which is terrifying to think about. Right now, clearly 100 Thieves has control, but I mean, you're looking at a Vital Point squad that could, in theory, maybe make a comeback in this game.
You have those time bomb win conditions for Vital Point Esports in these 2 solo laners, and to even some extent, Aphelios is something that you never want to underestimate in the late game when he does have access to all that armor penetration. Maybe one of the few AD carries that can deal with this, or despite him stacking so much health and resistances from his passive. But KenV1 5-0 on this Olaf. I believe the gold lead for him individually is over 2,000. Almost 3,000 in terms of stats. He's about, I don't even know if he, what is he building here? He has Phage, he has a couple long daggers here.
And then probably, he's either going Black Cleaver, or he might possibly be going into like a Trinity Force with just an extra Ruby Crystal in his inventory.
He totally should. I mean, he's so far ahead, he could definitely get away with it, and KenV1 just proactively protecting his main laner and Copy, and he's just gonna run him down. Ragnarok gets popped, and there's no counterattack available from World Ender and Good Sir. Once again, he's gonna get run out, and Jesus Christ, the axes just do so much damage, especially when you're this far behind. Good Sir and Nemesis King getting run over by their individual counterparts. No dragon is up for the taking quite yet, but there's a ton of towers that are being taken down across the map, both mid lane and bottom lane, and the gold lead is just increasing ever more.
But they are. Ooh. Gonna come in. They're just continuing to play. That might be. Oh, the Miasma saves his life. That would have been probably a kill as long as the auto gets in range, but fortunately that Miasma goes down, denies the ultimate in. That mid fight was strange because they had a very broken tower. It was about an auto off of dying anyway, and they stayed even though they saw KenV there to try to defend against it, and so that's just a punishment on a Nemesis King. He had ulted backwards under his tower and then walked back forward to try to Q or E the minion wave, and that was when the ultimate came out from KenV to try to punish him, and I think that was just unnecessary. They could have gotten both of them out and just lost the mid tower, instead they lose 2, trying to make a little more aggressive play than they need to.
This is the tragedy of of a jungler that is far behind in this current meta state of the game, where the Olaf is incredibly fed. He's 2 levels above, and you just can't do anything about it, because if you try to aggress, then you're going to get the Olaf trying to run you down into the face, but they actually managed to turn it around. Beautiful flash plays coming out from both Good Sir and Mezlo are able to turn it down, and the shutdown is in favor of Mezlo, or Good Sir, I should say. Tenacity even trying his hand at turning something around, but he goes down as well, and potentially Rebel Fox, dare I say it, the workings of a comeback are now in the making for Vital Point.
Certainly possible. The Cassiopeia has plenty of gold to work with. Oh, copy. Oh, no.
I'll leave him alone, please. Good Sir, does he have the Umbral Dash to be able to escape the wall? He has the roll down. Why did he just get out? I don't understand. What did he do?
No. Why? What are you doing? Eat over the wall and just leave. Why are you trying to fight this Zoe? There's no reason. You don't have the health. You don't have the cooldowns. You just spent them in the topside fight. Why worry about it? The Rift Herald is not under threat of being taken. There's no worry that they're going to have it taken away. Kenvi was still dead at the time. Why are you pressuring for that? There's no reason. Just overextension from Vital Point. And just as we were saying, oh, maybe a comeback attempt. Maybe they get a bunch of gold back in their pocket. Immediately just make a play like that happen. It's just disrespect.
Disrespectful, just underestimating, naive. There's many words that we can say about that play in general, but Kenvi won. Now he has the Yuumi attached to him. This is what we were fearing, Rebel Fox. And you flash right into the Crystal Enchanted Arrow with no one to save you. The last chapter is going to try and provide some assistance with some of the crowd control. It does get Kenvi 1 out safely. World Ender has not been popped yet by Good Sir, as he does not have access to it. Copy looking for a Sleepy Trouble Bubble if he can land it. Nemesis King will be able to Rift, walk out, picks up the Flash, does not find the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, could look for a pick off with the Q. Gets a lot of damage on the Good Sir, is not the lethal blow that he's looking for, but it's enough to drive them off the turret for some pressure.
That it is. Good start to that fight. It was Kenvi and, of course, Poom using that Yuumi Olaf combo that's so strong. Plenty of healing, not quite as much as if the Spirit Visage comes second for the Olaf. That probably would have kept him in that fight for a lot longer, but this is a very strong Olaf that jumped in, did a bunch of damage, and was able to run out thanks to the Yuumi. And then the follow-up from Coffee and Ash going to confirm them a little bit more, push that tower. Pretty nice place to be. Cassiopeia is actually a really weird position.
Oh, well, he wants to look for something on Auto, but you have to be careful about a Sleepy Trouble Bubble, and there is nothing to break the CC, but Auto, I don't know if you should have gotten that last Auto tick down. Mezlo is able to win the 1v2 against the Cat and the Archer. No Legless to be had for the side of 100 Thieves for the next 30 seconds. Nemesis King will look to try to lock down Copy, now finally having to burn his real Flash. 100 Thieves aggression is denied here for quite some time from Vital Point Esports, and when you're a team that has 2 late game scaling champions, then it is all for the best, but how long can they hold out for?
That is the question. Again, they have the scaling composition. The Aphelios is trying to get some gold, but is way behind the Ashe at this point. It's really your Cassiopeia that's starting to scale. That's what you have to play around. Meslo doing a good job of picking up spare kills here and there. The Kassadin, once he finishes his Seraphs, will start to be very, very strong in his own right. The next dragon's going to be the point of contention, because you do not kill an Ocean Soul Yuumi buffed Olaf. You don't do it. It's not possible. We've tried. Mathematically, it is literally impossible to do. It's so hard to burn through, especially if he goes Spirit Visage. If he gets a little bit of resistance, there's just nothing that you can do to stop the damage of the Olaf running down your entire team.
If you don't believe him, go check out r/they did the math, because I'm pretty sure Rebel Fox just made a post right now calculating those numbers and statistics. It's not going to happen, folks. So, and the Ocean Dragon Soul is a win condition that will come online sooner than Mezlo and Nemesis King fully scaling into the late game powerhouses that these champions are designed to be. Kenvi 1 at the forefront of this aggression, 8-1 on the Olaf, having completed the Trinity Force like the true Chad that he is. But Mezlo somehow was able to pick up the blue buff thanks to the dot. Unfortunately, Kenvi 1 did not feel he had the smited. Crystal Enchanted Arrow looking for the pick. Copy, not finding the damage that he needed to be able to follow up with that CC. Good Sir potentially collapsing now. But the exhaust comes out, and Jesus Christ. I mean, Copy is just able to take him down, but Mezlo actually wins a 1v2 versus the infamous Kenvi 1 and Poom duo. Olaf apparently is not strong enough to be able to take down Cassiopeia, even with the help of a Yuumi. That could be something that Vital Point Esports start playing towards. But mid lane is still, the siege is still strong for the side of 100 Thieves. They're looking for the kill onto Nemesis King, forcing the flash away. Autoing the turret, trying to get him down. Boom, getting run down by the snake, and he has a full mana bar. There's no way that this cat gets out alive, right? Well, I guess he did have to burn the flash. Hashtag worth in all chat. And boom, unfortunately not going to be able to survive the encounter with the Snake Lady. But Meslo, 6-4-1, is going to have to be at the front of this comeback that Final Points wants to establish. Oh my god.
Yeah,
There's so many champions you have to worry about here, Rebel.
I thought there was going to be a bubble or a paddle star coming in and hitting him from like a mile away, and that was just going to nuke him, and instead he just kind of walks up.
Wait, Meslo actually
Meslo's
could just kill
2v1 right now.
They're calling the reinforcements. They're like, wait, Meslo is really strong, guys. We should probably play around him.
Meslo, what are you doing?
You can't win a 1v1 against auto attack when he's taking you down. Meslo is too occupied with tenacity, and auto just takes the support for free. Miscommunication, whatever the hell you call it, but it is still overall in Vital Point's favor because they are stalling out the game and preventing 100 Thieves from ending it.
Yeah, I think the fear they're actually going to wait through this. Otto just going to burn the flash. Oh, wait, goes back for it.
Good Sir's got it, and if not him, then Meslo, and they have the backup, and Auto burning the flash. It is traded with Good Sir's own flash as well, and 20 kills to 11. The gold lead has shrunk down to only 6,000, but when it's 21 minutes into the game, a gold lead like that is not as big as it was when it was at 10 minutes into the game.
No, it wasn't. Honestly, if you would have told me at the beginning of this game, when you saw Meslo flash over that Baron wall and die to Kenvi, that he was going to have the most gold in the game, I would have said, okay, so this game goes to 40 minutes. Not at 21 minutes would I expect the Cassiopeia to have this much gold, but that's the case. Regarding that last play, I think the thought was, if you kill the Ornn, there's possibility for it. Maybe it was a miscommunication between Gufeng and Meslo there to be able to confirm on the Ashe. I think the Ashe kill would have been more valuable. Yeah, I think the fear was just he maybe wanted to get both or wanted to kill one before engaging on the other. And so it was a little overextension from Gufeng trying to get both. This dragon will be up rather soon, and the fight has to come through because then the Ocean Soul is too valuable to just give away.
And we go back to what you said in the draft phase, even before the draft phase begun. I recall you specifically saying, you know what, maybe Vital Point just needs to go full clown fiesta. And in the words of I'm a Cutie Pie, if we don't know what we're doing, how will the enemy team know what we're doing? And Meslo forcing all of these errors from the side of 100 Thieves and making them play into this unnecessarily aggressive gameplay style to combat Meslo taking all these fights is what's keeping Vital Esports in the game, and then is opening opportunities for the rest of Vital Points to find opportunities of their own on the rest of the 100 Thieves squad.
Yeah, so they opt to maybe try to trade Baron. They're on to Tenacity here. I don't know that they're going to be able to kill him, but they're trading the Ocean Soul. They were going to look to try to trade for Baron, but that got spotted out right quick by a blue ward, so they're not able to trade anything over. That's just a free Ocean Soul for the side of 100 Thieves. And now, again, if it's a Spirit Visage coming out from this Olaf, I don't really see a way you can kill him even with this massive Cassiopeia.
Call of the Forge God is not great, but there is the flank from the Olaf, and Yuumi between him and Kenvi1. They run them down like the dogs they are. Flash, not so great. Nemesis King will be able to escape with the Rift Walk. He just needs... What?
Okay. I can explain the mechanics on that one. I believe the axe hit him before he queued, and the Baron auto tracked him over the wall, which is a very unfortunate situation for that caster to find himself. Also, auto is just going to run down Good Sir. Good Sir has no ability to run away from auto at this point. If he hits him with a W, he gets him. All right, that's probably it.
He's got the slow. He doesn't land the sweet spot on the Darkened Blade. Eventually, Good Sir should die unless he's able to scale the terrain, which he does over the Krug wall. But Baron has gone over to the wayside of 100 Thieves, and
Good Sir is still playing with auto right now.
This is e-bullying right here. Auto is preventing Good Sir from being able to back. At this point, I would rather just die so that I can get to my Nexus Town faster. But you know what? He's going to be able to get out alive. Auto is not going to be able to spot him out in time. He recalls safely in the bush, and... Oh, well, yeah. I believe we do have a replay. Let's break down that fight real quick.
Again, Again, all of it started with some pressure that was coming out around the Baron buff. We were able to get quite a bit there. Yeah, and then here's the fight coming afterwards. Yeah, you see the attempted pin off. All right, no replay. That's
Oh,
fine.
well,
Fight on.
Meslo, you know, he was able to 1v2, but I don't know if you can 1v4, especially when the Ocean Soul is readily available for the side of 100 Thieves next as they barrel down the strongest member alive from the side of Vital Point Esports.
Yeah, and now we've also gotten to the point. Level 14 tenacity means that the Trinity Fusion ornament comes out for the Olaf, so you have an intensely powerful champion coming at you. You see Gufang going to experience that firsthand. Goodsir's about to experience it firsthand too.
Death sentence, literally
Oh,
spelling out his own death sentence. Good Sir's world ending. I mean, these name abilities don't write themselves, folks. As Nemesis King looking to rift walk into death if he's not able to stay inside the Nexus fountain, and he's just gonna stay back. 27 kills to 11, 12,000 gold lead in advantage for 100 Thieves next. It did take them longer than it probably should have, but once they finally got the Ocean Soul and they got that full wide ace onto the Baron Pit, it is a closed book here. No last chapter to be had here, as the lost chapter or the final chapter will be written here for Vital Point Esports in this series. Shutdown does come out from Gufang onto Copy, but I think they're willing to take that trade. They're just playing for fun. They're padding KDAs whenever they can. The 100 Thieves next to team is just so damn strong. Tenacity is going to get pulled out. Doesn't die quite yet to the Nexus Fountain. I mean, just end the game already, guys. Have mercy on Vital Point Esports. You've destroyed them. You've destroyed their families. Let them have their dignity while they can. And I guess maybe that's what they're doing by giving some deaths up. But GG, 100 Thieves next with the 2-0 win.
Yeah, so game one, they came out with a very like they won across the map in pretty much every skirmish with superior rotation, superior map knowledge. This game felt a lot different in that they were just smashing matchups individually. Kenvi was winning the jungle matchup. Copy was doing great in the individual matchup in the mid lane. Otto and Poom still killing that 2v2 matchup in the bottom lane. So they were just winning those individual matchups. They didn't have to play that perfect rotation. They have to play that perfect, like, everybody's always there to support each other style. They were winning individual matchups and then just kind of snowballed it into objective after objective after objective.
I don't know if you can see this, but this is all I have to say. F's in the chat for Vital Point Esports, ladies and gentlemen. They tried. Meslo really tried, but I it was all for naught. It was all for naught. Oh, did you not see it? Okay, here you go. One more time. F's in the chat for Vital Point Esports. Oh, is it really? Oh, well, I guess mirrored, right? Just pretend you can read backwards, guys. I don't know. Maybe I can draw an F. Well, you get the point. It just, I do believe we can finally get a look at that. I would say game-winning stretch replay of the Baron fight where they just completely ran them through.
Yeah, it was pretty rough to look at. You're talking. Never mind. We're not going to get there. Game's over. It doesn't matter. Don't have to talk about the replay. Again, 100 Thieves just continue to put themselves in a situation where it's hard to imagine anybody in it, not only just Ocean Soul, but also anybody just in all of Upsurge right now that would be able to contest this. They have top tier players across the board. They've got superior rotation. They're clearly very intelligent when it comes to playing the map. Their drafts are pretty strong across the board. Like, I don't really see a weakness to this team so far. I'm waiting for somebody to try to break open this team and show us a chink in the armor that would actually give somebody an opening to beat them.
And I believe their last opponent, I don't remember if it was Horizon or if it was Rise Black. What was it?
I believe it was Horizon. I could be wrong about that. I think it was Horizon.
So I think Horizon is the only team that has given them a run for their money in being able to match lane per lane. But maybe it's not the group. Maybe it's going to be once it gets to the playoff season and one of the first seeds from the other groups, whether it's the Mountain Division or the Cloud Division or the Infernal Division that they are looking for. And you know, I find it strange that we are in the Ocean Divisions and we did get the Ocean Soul as the kind of the nice end game win condition here for 100 Thieves. You know, scripted. You decide, Rebel Fox.
I decide that it was scripted. So we're gonna have to look into our production.
Confirmed. All right.
We're
Well,
just
we will be able to show you this beautifully crisp last fight from the side of
yeah able to see quite a bit here. Yeah, that's the arrow. We're gonna see a little bit more. Again, that fight was pretty decent.
Nemesis King. Did have a nice solo kill onto Zoe right there, but we should see.
Yeah, this was the Ash fight. It kept going. Yeah, so again, I think towards the beginning of this is when he was waiting for the E to come through, and you saw that at the end, but his Q had reset, so he had the long Q. But he could have just used the AoE Q towards the beginning of this fight to try to get just a little more burst damage onto the Ashe and kill her before she got the reset. But it didn't work out that way. So that Umbral Dash never came up in time. Wasn't able to get that one working, fortunately.
Yeah, that was
Mhm.
sad to see from
Shame.
good sir. Uh, it appears that somehow we had a error 404 error with that last fight. So, but I'm pretty sure you guys had it ingrained to your brain. Tenacity was the juicy bait. They all thought that they were collapsing onto the very strong Ornn, and then suddenly from the woodworks you had this very pissed off Viking coming in with the cat on a book, and they just ran them down, and that was the story of the
Yeah.
game right there.
And that was the game plan the whole time from the side of 100 Thieves. So good to see them once again operate on that, setting themselves a win condition, and then, of course, executing on that win condition. It's been a specialty of theirs all season.
Yep. Well, with this 2-0 win, this further cements 100 Thieves' next is standing as first place in the Ocean Division. I believe this this either makes Vital Point still remain in third place or even potentially bump down to fourth place, as we are still waiting to hear back on the series between Rise and Horizon Esports. The winner of that could affect the standings at that point. But I think me and Rebel Fox are very confident to say that 100 Thieves Next will be emerging as the first seed as we get into the playoffs for Ocean Division. And, not much to say about 100 Thieves as what we have already talked about. But for Vital Point Esports, what do they have to do to try and climb and get back into the second seed of the standings?
The best thing they can do. So the first thing, they have to beat Horizon. Horizon's sitting in front of them. They have to beat Rise, both preferably in 2-0s. That would be ideal. If it's not in 2-0s, then they have to do it. They have to beat Horizon in at least a 2-1. If Rise has to be a 2-0. If Horizon's a 2-1, then they tie Rise. If Rise loses to 100 Thieves in a 2-0 once again, which would be expected of any team in this division. So then that would be a tie, lead to a tiebreaker, and they have to play a match like that. If they're able to get a 2-game win over Horizon, 2-game win over Rise, they might have a better shot at it. But of course, again, Horizon, if they beat 100 Thieves in one game, they pretty much secure it as long as they play normal. So
Right. Well, there you have it, folks. That is going to be the game plan for Vital Esports if they want to get into playoffs. But that will be all for tonight between this series of 100 Thieves and Vital Point Esports. We want to give a huge shout out to, of course, all of our sponsors, our amazing production staff and crew, and as well, of course, you guys for watching and enjoying this very exciting broadcast of another dominating victory of 100 Thieves just rolling through their opponents. We want to thank you all from the very bottom of our hearts and have a wonderful evening.
What are you willing to lose? You cover your wounds, but underneath them, a million voices in your head that whisper, stop now. Another twist of the knife, a turn of the screws, it's all in your mind, and it's fighting you on yourself. The storm is coming. Wow, kid, what you gonna do now? It's your reflection looking back to pull you down. So are you gonna die today?